shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man who is fearless. A young loner on a crusade to champion the cause in a world of reckless automobiles. These are my moto vlogs. What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing today? We are live in the Caliente Garage. Today we are joined by a special guest all the way from California, a man that needs no introduction. You've seen him many times on the Caliente live show. Let's give it up for the one, the only, Moto Mark out in California. What's going on, Mark?
Same old thing. Just got a little ride in today. Went down to go see mom and pop, and beautiful weather out here, about 78 degrees. Great ride, and so now I'm just home kicking it.
And so today we're going to have a pretty good show for you guys. It's not going to be long. Today we're going to be talking about the Sena 50S and the Sena 30K redemption. You know, a lot of people that tune into my videos have went out and purchased headsets for their motorcycle. Some of you may ride with Cardo. Some of you may ride with Sena. And in the past, we've talked about some of the problems that we've had with Sena. And we've talked about some of the testimonies that you guys have given your boy Chris out here in the Caliente Garage. But today, we're going to be talking mainly about the Sena 30K, the Sena 30K. I know a lot of people still have the Sena 30K. Some people was contemplating on upgrading to the new Sena 50 series. Myself, I'm still rocking with my Cardo. Mark, we did a video cast here recently, and we went over some of the things about the Sena 30K. So let's just kind of bring people up to speed on some of the things that we said during that particular video cast. So before we get into where we are at this point, let's kind of bring people back to some of the things that we said in the previous video cast. So shed some light on your experience with your 30K prior to this new update.
Well, when we first, as a rider group, a club that I belong to, we first decided that we were going to transition to a Bluetooth communication. My brother and I had already been communicating through Bluetooth for quite some time, and a lot of the new the members of the club saw how we were communicating, and they took an interest in it. And so, you know, that sparked their curiosity. And then we had my brother and another very generous member of the club. They were kind enough to purchase a rather large amount of 30Ks because everything that advertised was that this would be a very simple way for people to communicate using their mesh platform, and basically it would just be turning on the headset and pushing the mesh button and have instant connection. And I had already been a very fond of Sena products because I was using the 20S, and then before that the 20S, well, the 20S Evo, and before that the 20S. But my first actual headset from Sena was the SMH10,
right?
Which was a really good headset. Exactly, great headset, and it's still a good headset. And
right.
If you're not looking to have a lot more functionality than what I want, that I need for my bike, then that SMH10 is a great deal. It's easy to use. It's very user friendly. But we started progressing upwards. So we went from the SMH10. We started out with 20Ss,
right,
and the FreeWire. And I really believe that the FreeWire was actually made to work in conjunction with the 20S because it's 4.0 Bluetooth or 4.1 Bluetooth, whereas the SMH10 was 3.1.
That is correct. Now,
And so,
how many? I don't mean to, but
no, go ahead.
cut you
Go
off.
ahead.
How many 30Ks? You said that your group, you guys went out and got a bundle of the 30Ks. How many 30Ks did you guys obtain?
14.
14. Okay.
14. Yeah.
Okay.
14.
Okay.
And so when we got the 30Ks, we did, anytime you get a headset, the first thing you need to do is make sure it's at full charge. And you also need to make sure it has the latest firmware update. So we went through all the firmware update and then we got the group together and they're somewhat older gentlemen. So their patience is very thin already.
Right.
And so we have to make things as simple as we can. It turned out to be a major fiasco. My brother-in-law and I tested them first and took a ride out to Las Vegas one day, and we could not get these 30Ks to work. We could not get them to pair with our FreeWire, and if they did, it cut everything out. It was a fiasco. We would try Bluetooth communication, it wouldn't work. We would try mesh, it wouldn't work. And that started like, wow, I'm going to say almost a whole year of communication back and forth with Sena people about their product. And, it got to the point where we just went back to our 20Ss because it could not do what they said it could do.
Okay.
So,
let me give my quick story before you
sure.
tell me where we are at this point. A lot of people that watched my vids, I started out with Sena, had used them for many years, and I was pretty satisfied with the Sena 20S, and they came out with the Sena 30K, and I bought the Sena 30K, bought a couple of them actually, and the problem that I ran into at that time is that when I went to record a video, because I do all of my video recording via Bluetooth. Mm-hmm. So when I purchased the Sena 30K, my recording lights indicator gave me the green light that my voice is being recorded. So when I go out and film my videos and I come back from a day of recording, once I upload their videos, I had no audio. So that was one of the problems that I had with my 30. So I stopped using it at that point because it was useless to me at that point. So I kind of stuck back with the 30K. So I started out with, some of the earlier versions, like the SMH. This is the SMH10, which works fine, and went to the Sena 20S, and it did fine. When you went over 4 people, I did get a lot of snap, crack, and pop, but it worked decent for what I needed it to do for that at that particular time. I went to the 30K, but once I went to the 30K, my voice will not be recorded because I do my videos via Bluetooth. So that was the problem that I had with the 30 for me. So at that point, it was like it's useless to me because if it's not going to record my audio, then what good is it? So I rock with the Sena 20S. And it just got to a point to where the connections between other bikers, I was losing time and just run into a lot of problems. Make a long story short, switched to the Cardo, been satisfied ever since. But since then,
that's the other dark side.
Yeah, that's the other dark side. So went to the Cardo, and I love it. Since then, I've gotten rid of all of my Sena products except my SMH10. It's the only one I have left.
It's a good product. It's
a good product.
Good device.
So, like I said, let's kind of speed it up. But we said some things about the Sena 30K, and since then, tell me about what's going on with your experience of the Sena 30K at this point. I want to kind of bring people into where we are at this point now.
Yeah. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I got an email from a Senate representative that I've been dealing with, and I won't mention names at all. Just have to trust me on this. But
Okay.
I got an email from the gentleman who asked me if I had downloaded the latest firmware update for the Sena 30K, and that he had heard that it's the difference between night and day on how the units work.
What
And
version? Do you know what version number it was on this particular update?
yeah, the update I think is like a 3.0.1 or something like that. But the
Okay.
one that it replaced was down in the twos.
Okay.
And
Okay.
usually, and they're usually gradual number changes when you start working your way up. And this one was a huge, there was a big spread in the numbers. So that kind of told me that there was a significant change in the firmware of the unit. Because usually it'll be like 2.0.1, then it'll go 2.0.3.
Right.
But this one went, man, from the low twos all the way up to 3.0.1 or something like that. So it was a significant firmware update. So, we were skeptical about it, and I guess I just want to touch on, for me, I want to be completely wireless, but I want everything to come through my helmet with my navigation system and my music. So that's why, for me, it's necessary to have the free wire that works with my headset so that I can have full functionality of all of my onboard systems. So, and you get that with the 20S, but we didn't get that with the 30K in its original state. So a couple of weeks ago, my brother and I, we decided, hey, let's, we got the 30Ks updated with the latest firmware. I'm going to roll out to his house and we're going to just test these things out and see how they work. And, went over there with very skeptical mind, totally closed-minded. I totally thought it was going to be a failure and we were going to be in the same boat that we were in before. So one of the first things I wanted to do was, because for me, I need it to work with my free wire. If it doesn't work with my free wire, then I'm back to the 20S. So
Right.
first thing we did is, okay, well, let's turn these things on. We'll put them into mesh and we'll see if it works with the free wire. And lo and behold, man, it worked. Everything. We got turn by turn. We could make phone calls. We were in a mesh communication. Everything worked just the way it would if it was a 20S that I was using instead of the 30K. So I said, okay, well, let's go ahead and let's try these things out. Let's ride around for a while. So we took about a 2-hour ride with the 30Ks on in a mesh, making phone calls, testing it, and this is a completely different headset than the 20S. Our mesh communication was flawless. I mean, crystal clear. I mean, just amazing. We were so excited about how the mesh was working with our FreeWire that we didn't even bother to test the Bluetooth connectivity to see if we could communicate on the Bluetooth. So they took off on another ride recently, and they've been gone for probably 6 days, and we've been having them check it out in larger groups. I think we had as many as 5 people in one group on a met with no issues at all. A couple of times, a couple of headsets dropped off of out of a connection, but the on the fly repair was just turning the unit on, off, and then turning it back on and pushing the mesh button and reestablishing, and not trying to pair with something else. It was as simple as on, off, push one button, you're good to go, and that is acceptable, because I think all headsets they're a little finicky at one time or another. I don't know if the Cardos do that, but I know almost all the Sena products that I've ever used have had that kind of a drop off at one time or another. And You just don't know why. It just drops. So it was very promising, and I kind of felt compelled because I've really haven't had nice things to say about the 30K. But I'm just keeping it honest. If you're going to sell me 14 headsets for a group and you say they're capable of doing something, at the very least, I expect them to do what you say they can do. And so, my thought was, oh, so here they come with a 50S, and, we're looking at a, pig with lipstick on it, and it's going to behave the same way as a 30K. And that's not what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is that it's doing really well. The 50S.
So let me get this straight. So what you're telling me in the beginning, you couldn't hook your Sena FreeWire to the 30K. So you was having a lot of issues with that 30K on top of that when it came to group riding. It did fine and, one-on-one. But when it came to a group ride, you had problems with just getting connected to the mesh and things like that. But what you're telling me here today, here in the Caliente Garage, you're telling me that with this new Sena update that they've done for the 30K, it's making the 30K unit work flawlessly. Is that correct?
Yes. With the exception of a few drop-offs, it's standard. It's going to happen. It's just a completely whole new unit. It's redeeming for them. And with the 30K, what they ended up telling me, the 30K that I needed to do if I wanted to make a phone call when it was with the old firmware that they couldn't get dialed in, they said, well, you're just going to have to shut off your mesh, receive your phone call, and then turn your mesh back on. And I'm like, that's not acceptable.
Right.
That's just not acceptable. I mean, and then if I had the 30K on in a mesh, then I couldn't have my turn by turn. I couldn't listen to music from the bike, none of that stuff. So whatever they did, and I guess it just took them a long time to do it. I thought they had given up when I saw the 50S come out. I thought they had just totally given up on the 30K and they had just walked away from it. And, and I couldn't understand, well, if it has these problems, why are you still selling it to people? Why are you still telling people that it works with the FreeWire? And then the 50S comes out. But I'm telling you, man, I'm good with the 30K, and it hooks up to my remote because I have a SC HR01 Sena handlebar remote.
Okay.
Hooks up with that. So I mean, I'm flip flopping now. I have nothing but good things to say about it.
I'm shocked, and I'm flabbergasted. I'm discombobulated to hear that this update that Sena just put out has corrected the issues with the Sena 30K. And see, that was the reason why I went to Cardo. I was having so many problems out of the Sena 20S, and previously the 30K wouldn't even record my audio to my Bluetooth device. Is that I switched. I jumped to Cardo, but that's interesting.
And to be honest with you, I don't know even if that fix will, not that you would go back to a 30K because the Cardo does everything you need it to do.
Right. Yeah. I'm satisfied with. I'm satisfied. I'm married to the Cardo right now. But that's just good news for people that's actually that watches my videos, that's tuning in to this live video cast. We are joined here by Moto Mark out on the West Coast out there in California, and he has some great news. He's saying that new Sena update that they just came out, he's saying that it has made the 30K work flawlessly. And you guys have been doing some tests, group riding. Is that correct with the 30K and everybody in the group?
Yeah, we have actually they just returned today, but they were on a 6-day ride. Okay. And so they were reporting back to me every day, and they were trying it in different in different, ride styles, whether it was a long road or, a twisty or something like that. But, one people, three people, five people, they were giving me some pretty good feedback, at the end of each day's ride. And it's like, okay, even the guy that was probably the most skeptical about these units and even going to a Bluetooth headset, even he found it super easy to use. And so you kind of use him as your baseline for, okay, if we could get this guy to buy off on how easy it is to use, then the rest of the club is gonna be okay with it. And it totally changed my position on how I feel about the 30K. It's now on my helmet. I'm using it exclusively now. The 20S is just a backup. I do notice that with the 30K, the speaker, the quality of sound coming through my helmet is a lot better than that on the 20S. But the 20S has really good sound too. And for me, I don't like music blasting in my head.
Right.
Because I still want to hear that ambient sound that's going on around me, tires skidding, sirens and things like that. So I just don't have a need for, superior bass tones and highs and lows that just drown out everything else that I should be hearing as well on my ride, not just the music. And so if anybody from Sena is listening, you know what? I was just keeping it real, and I'm keeping it real now. I was telling you the product and the problems with it then, and I'm telling you how it works now, and it's working really good. And you guys hit it out of the ballpark with this firmware update. I didn't think it was possible. I thought it was a hardware issue they weren't going to fix. So, but no, that's why I didn't go to MIT and get a degree in electrical engineering.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about this subject. If anybody out there is watching this live video cast and you have a testimony with your Sena 30K or your Sena 50 series, or either your Sena 20S, the phone line is wide open, 901-468-9032. You're live in the Caliente Garage, owned with Motomark out in California, who's given us his firsthand testimony on the Sena 30K. And we just want to bring this video cast to you guys and kind of give you guys an update from where we was the last time we talked about this subject. And, it's very good news that this update is correcting the problem with the Sena 30K. I've always thought it was a software issue. I didn't think it was actually a hardware issue. I figured that a good update would take care of it. But the problem is, they kept sending out these updates and it just made the units worse, in my personal opinion. My stance has always been that the Sena 20S is better than the 30K. That's just my stance, because I couldn't even get the Bluetooth pack to record the audio with the 30K, even though it was giving me the indication of the lights that it's recording. So, that threw a wrench in my gears. So I went back to the 20S and just kind of stuck with it. But if you guys are watching this live feed and you want to call in and give your testimony, or you have something you want to add to this video, the phone line is open, 901-468-9032. And we are live in the Caliente Garage, on with Motomark, Caliente panel member out in California, giving us some good news on his Sena 30K.
I follow several other Facebook pages, Goldwing pages, and there have been some other reviews of the 50S that have come out. One of them wasn't all that great. The second one was really good. And, I think we talked about this the last time we were on panel. But one guy, him and his buddy, bought 2 dual packs so that they could communicate amongst themselves and their wives. And they said for the first 6 hours of the ride, everything worked fine. And then all of a sudden, they started having instability issues. And then we had another guy I just read a few days ago where he bought the 50Ss and he's stoked about them. He says everything works good. There was a few little minor glitches that he didn't really like, but aside from that, he said everything worked great. Even if you're not aware of what the software update did, is the 50S has a completely different mesh. It's a 5.0 mesh, I believe, or 2.0 mesh.
Okay.
And so rather than having a guest private, which they still do, rather than having a guest private and group and open mesh, they still have those, but what they've done is they've added channels, up to 9 channels. And so with that, all you have to do is push your mesh button twice. It'll give you a dialog for which channel you want to go to, and you just rotate your dial counterclockwise or clockwise to whatever channel you want to go in, and then whoever else wants to go there does the same thing, and they all meet you in a channel. So there's no need to create a group and have downtime at the start of your ride while everybody's trying to pair up into what group they're going to be part of. You just take them to a different channel. So go ahead.
No, that's good information. And since you're talking about the channels and the groups of the Sena, a lot of people think that I'm biased to the Cardo, and I am. I really love the Cardo product. But one thing about me, Mark, you know me, if a product is good, I'll say if it's good. If a product is not good, I will say it's not good. I've been doing a lot of tests with this Cardo Pack Talk Bowl. I've been doing a lot of tests. One of the things that I found that I don't like is that with the Cardo, you could pair up to 15 riders in your group. Once you get those 15 riders in your group, you can't go in and delete one individual. So within the app, there's no problem, connecting. There's no problem with the communication. That sounds great going up the road. But if you have somebody in your group that maybe you only roll with one time, or maybe you only would ride with them once in a blue moon, or maybe you may not ever see them again, and you want to go into the app and take that one rider out because it's occupying a space that maybe somebody now you're riding with can occupy that slot. The thing I don't like about the Cardo is that you cannot go and delete one individual out. You have to delete the entire group. There is no delete option for one person. It's either the whole group or none.
Right.
So, that's one of the things I don't like about the Cardo. Everything else, I love it. I love the connectivity. I love the range. I love the clarity. I love the sound. I mean, it's perfect. It's great. If I had any complaints with this unit, is that once you max out on how many people you can put in the group, you have to delete the entire group and start over if you want to add somebody else. You can't go in and delete one person out. And I don't think that's fair to delete the whole group just to take out one person.
Right.
I just, I think that's a bit extreme. And I've talked to Cardo about it. I've talked to their tech support and some of my contacts over there. And I'm hoping that they can straighten this out with an update, because again, I mean, you would think just a matter of writing of the program, something very simple, just going in, adding a delete option. Because even if you say, well, I'll create a second group, once you hit that 15 person ceiling, I don't, from the test that I've done, if you try to bring anybody from the first group over into the second group, they won't be able to go back to group one. So, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or if that's just a limitation of the Cardo, but I think that if they just had a delete option next to a person's name where you can take that person out, maybe you go out of town and ride with just one person and you may not ever see them again, or you may not see them for years. And so you don't really need them locked in your, in your app within the Cardo. Maybe you want to remove them and replace them with a person that you're going to ride with more frequently. So if I had any complaints with the Cardo, that would be my complaint. Outside of that, I have no complaints. With the Sena, I had Snap, I had the Crackle, I had the Pop. with the Bluetooth. That's the thing I like about the Cardo is that it's a dual unit. Not only it's a Bluetooth device, it also has dynamic mesh communication. So that's one thing I do like about this. Now with the 30K, it's to my understanding, and the new 50 series that it's supposed to pretty much have that same type of setup, Bluetooth and mesh. I think that if it's working properly, I think that would be a good thing. But who's going to try it out? I mean, who's going to go out and invest a lot of money up front for these new Sena 50 series if they was turned off by what happened with the 30K? And as you're telling us here today, is that with this update that Sena has just put out, that it has corrected the problems that you guys was having with the 30K, which is very good news. I'm also,
and we're still looking for, still looking for more people that will attest to that too. And don't take my word for it. I mean, seek out other people that are updated and are trying it out. Yeah.
And I've also heard that with the new Sena update is that I guess it allows the 30K to operate with the Sena 50K. If I'm saying it correctly, I don't have the Sena 50K, so I wouldn't know.
Yep.
I've been on YouTube. There's not a lot of Sena 50K videos out there. I have seen a few unboxing videos, but when you buy a headset like the Cardo or a Sena, you got to go out and test it. You got to put it through the test, and that's what I do. When I had the Senas, I pushed them to the limits. Same thing with the Cardo. Like they told me, well, the average person wouldn't probably ride with 15 people, but I'm not the average person. So, I've hit that ceiling even with Cardo, and I think it needs to be corrected with an update. But, that's one of the things that I realized with these units is that you got to take them out and test them. So the point I was trying to get to is that, you got videos out there of people that maybe went out and bought one, and it may work fine, just one rider. It may work perfect, just like the 30K. The 30K worked perfect as long as I wasn't recording, but it was hard to connect people. But I think that if a person goes out and get the new Sena 50 series, they need to test it, and just buying one unit is not going to be able to tell everything that unit is going to, how it's going to perform under stress. You got one center hook to your helmet, there's no resistance, there's no pressure. The problem comes in when you started adding in other bikers. Now you kind of can see how that unit is performing. So, just keep your eyes on YouTube. I'm sure some people are going to be putting out videos on this new Sena 50K, but you got to put it through the paces. You got to put it through the test. You got to hook it to so many other bikers and see how it performs. You got to go through the different modes of what this unit will do, and that will tell you what you got. And like I said, with the new Sena 50K, the Sena 50 series, which looks like a Sena 30K to me with paint, but with this new Sena 50 series, you're going to have to test it. You're going to have to take it out there. You're going to have to pair up the bikers. You're going to have to just test it out, do range tests, do battery tests, torture tests. You're going to have to put it through its paces to confirm that new Sena is everything that they say it is. So, I'm keeping my eyes open. I'm not going to go out and get it, but I'm going to be watching to see who gets it. And if they get it, are they going to really put it through its paces? Because like I said, getting one Sena 50 or 130 is not going to tell you everything that unit is how it's going to perform under pressure. So yeah, if any of you guys are watching this video and you want to comment on what we're talking about here today, we're talking about the Sena 30K redemption. We're talking about the Sena 50 series. Some of you have actually went out and purchased this Sena 50 series. And if you purchased it and you have some information you want to share with us, give us a call. The phone line is wide open, 901-468-9032. And we'll put you on and share your testimony. Because I'm curious, is anybody out there that went out and bought this new Sena? Give me a call. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know how it's performing. Let me know if you've been doing a group ride with it. Let me know if you've been putting it through the test and what have been your results up to this point. And for some of you that has the 30K that's watching this video cast, have you done the new update? Do you notice a significant change? Do you feel like it's better? Do you feel like it's worse? Do you feel like it's the same? Or have you just not done your update? So I'm just curious with that. But we're live in the Caliente Garage talking to Moto Mark, who's out in California. And he's reporting to me that with this new Sena update for the 30K is that it's making this 30K work as if it should. So if you guys want to talk about it, give us a call, 901-468-9032.
Yeah, Chris, we're constantly looking for other people again that have also put the unit through the test after the firmware update, just to confirm that the results are the same and that they're seeing the same improvement in the unit. Another thing that and they're so new yet, we just don't know. The research that I've done on the 50S, it doesn't say specifically if it's compatible with a FreeWire, but then neither do any of the other units. But I'm curious to see if anybody has paired up a 50S to a FreeWire and has had it work the way anybody who owns a FreeWire knows why they have it, and they know what it should do for them. And so I'm looking to see if there's anybody out there that has purchased a 50S that has paired it to a FreeWire, paired it to a remote, and it is working the way they want it to work. And so if you got that, send Chris a message and let him know, and I guess we'll do another update. But
yeah, I just try to keep people informed, Mark. I try to, I try to just, sometimes, people may be offended by some of the things I say. And I just try to be honest. I think people can respect this channel because of the honesty. If the product is good, I'm going to say it's good. If the product is not good, then I'll tell you that it's not good. So I just try to keep it honest over here. I try to tell you guys what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear. And I just try to be truthful with you guys. I've used Sena for years.
Yeah.
Like I say, I still have my old faithful SMH10. This is the last Sena headset that I have, my SMH10. And I'm going to add this to the Caliente Museum one day. But I've been using Sena for years, and, I just decided to make the switch. It because of my riding style, the way I use it, the things I do with it. I'll push a headset to the limit, and I'll put it through its paces and see, is it going to perform the way the manufacturer said it's going to perform. Did the same thing with GoPro. If you guys watched some of my earlier videos, and I talked about how the GoPros was getting hot and how they was fine if you're just recording, yourself out there snowboarding or jumping out of an airplane or skiing or something like that, no issues. But once I started putting that GoPro through the test, hooking it up via Bluetooth, hooking up several cameras, running it in the dead of summer, it was getting too hot. And it was actually killing the camera. So I learned that those cameras, they're small and convenient, but they don't have a heat sink on it. There's no way to pull the heat off of the camera. And as a result, it gets too hot. Now, the GoPro did have a fail-safe that shuts your camera down if it gets a certain temperature. But the only problem with that is if you're trying to record, you have no camera. And people used to say things like, well, plug it in. It didn't matter. Once that GoPro get a certain temperature, it kills it. It didn't matter how much battery power you had. You could have hooked it to a car battery. It wouldn't have mattered. It just shuts down because it had a heating issue. That's why to this day, I will not buy a GoPro Black. They could come out with a GoPro 10 Black. If they say black, I know it runs hot unless they fix that issue. But the point I'm trying to make is that I try to keep it honest. I try to keep it real and just tell people the truth. So I'm still on my GoPro 4 Heroes. I love them. They're up to, I think, GoPro 8 right now. So I'm not knocking GoPro, but I'm just saying that I know with some of the earlier GoPros, they was having a heating problem. So I just try to keep it real and tell people the truth, even though that may not be what they want to hear. Some people may even get offended. In today's society, everybody gets offended so easily. Everybody gets mad. Everybody, You know, one minute you're walking and everything is normal. You say one wrong thing and all of a sudden the person is on the other side of you. You know, people need to stop letting everything bother them. You know, until the day you die, people are going to say something that offend you. So, you know, on this show, I may say anything, but don't let that offend you. So we're live in the Caliente Garage, on with Moto Mark, who's out in California, giving us the good news on an update for the Sena 30K. He's saying it's working as it should. He's impressed with it. He's saying it's functioning as it was originally designed to do. So, you know, that's music to my ears, and that's information that I need to get out to the people that's watching this video cast out here in the Caliente Garage.
Hey, I don't know if he's still on with us right now, but it looks like Thomas Smith was asking which is the best. I don't know if he's referring to which is the best Sena headset or which is the best headset, Sena or Cardo.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, we're joined by Alan Boone is watching, Alonzo Fairley is watching, Big Al, Bellows is watching, Mark Meldrum, Thomas Smith. We even have Godspeed is watching. So I'm just reading some of the comments, and I can see Thomas Smith. He's asking which is the best. So I'm not sure, Thomas, are you referring to the 30K, the 50K, or the Cardo? Can you be more specific in your comment, which is the best? Now, in my opinion, which is the best? In my opinion, it doesn't get any better. You know, that's just my personal opinion. I haven't tried out the new 50 series. I've seen unboxing videos on YouTube. Some people are saying good things about it. But until I can see a person group riding with it, with, 10 people, 6 or 7 guys going down the highway at highway speeds, doing a group conversation with the new Sena 50 series in mesh mode, seeing is believing. But until then, well, I'm sticking to Cardo. That's who I'm sticking with. But again, for you guys that are considering the 50 series or the 50R, it may be a great headset. I'm not here to tell you that it's not. I'm not here to tell you to not buy a Sena. I'm just putting the information out there, and you guys can make the decision. You do what's work best for you, and I'll do what works best for me. But as for me in my house, I'm rocking with Cardo. So we're on it live here in the Caliente Garage, joined by Moto Mark. We're going to give this video cast a few more minutes. If any of you would like to chime in, the phone line is wide open right now, 901-468-9032. If you would like to give a testimony about your 20S or your 30K, or if you even want to give us a testimony about the new 50 series or the 50R, 901-468-9032.
Yeah, while we're waiting for any calls to come in, Chris, I think it's important to just educate whoever's new to using headsets. Different brands for different use. If you are looking, if you're looking for full compatibility to be completely Bluetooth headset with your system, Sena was the first one to come out with a device, a FreeWire, to make all that happen so that you wouldn't have to be connected to the cord. And so, but if you don't care about any of that stuff, if you don't care about listening to turn-by-turn instructions or music from your sound system on your motorcycle through your headset, then, the sky's the limit to whatever you want to use, whether it be a Cardo or a Uclear or a Sena. You just really got to do your homework to make sure that it accomplishes what you want it to do. If it's just you and your wife on a bike and just the two of you need to communicate with each other, then man, the SMH10 is a great device. But Cardo also has, products the same that are down in that lower level of use that aren't as expensive as a Cardo Pack Talk Bold with the mesh. You know, if it's just the rider to passenger communication, Bluetooth is a great way to go. There's no
Right.
need to have a mesh, in my opinion.
One thing, I don't know if I ever shared this with anybody about the Cardo, is that you guys know it's a Bluetooth device as well as it has dynamic mesh. Once you pair a Bluetooth device to the Cardo, once you pair a regular Bluetooth device to the Cardo, like a Sena 20S or 30K or whatever you have, if you pair it to the Cardo, it will automatically reconnect that Sena. So not only it does auto reconnect Cardo to Cardo, it actually will auto reconnect a Bluetooth device. So if I take a Sena 20S, for example, and I pair it on rider A or rider B channel, when I turn on that Sena device, it's going to automatically connect to the Cardo. You don't have to be sitting there pressing buttons. So I just want to put that out there. I don't know if I ever shared that with anybody because I don't talk about it as much, but that's another thing I really like about the Cardo is that it brings a lower device up to the level of the Cardo. You follow what I'm saying? Yeah, it'll reconnect your Bluetooth device to the Cardo in DMC mode, not just Bluetooth mode, in DMC. So if you're
You can actually, it bridges.
Yeah, it bridges over. So if I'm having a group ride and it's all Cardos, and I have paired one Cardo to a Sena, it's going to automatically bridge that Sena over to the Cardo in DMC. If it doesn't automatically do it, there is an option in the app you can hit to bridge it over. But that's one thing I do like about the Cardo. But again, we're talking about the Sena 30K, the redemption. We're in the Caliente Garage here live tonight, talking to Moto Mark, who's out in California, and he brought us some very good news. He's saying that the new update that Sena has put out, and I will include it down in the description of this video, a link to updating your Sena 30K. But Mark is telling us is that with that new update that Sena has done, is making the 30K work as it should, or is working the way it was intended to work. Is that correct, Mark? With that new update?
Correct. You got it. Yes, sir.
So if any of you guys that's watching this vid would like to share your thoughts or chime in on anything we talked about before we end this live video cast, the phone line is wide open, 901-468-9032.
And the other thing that I noticed with the Sena 30K is that if you have a Sena 30K Bluetooth to, say, a 20S, it uses that bridging technology to now bring that Bluetooth 20S into the mesh conversation. But there's a give up on it. The rider, the 30K rider that is now Bluetoothing with the 20S gives up his ability to use his phone.
Okay.
He can't use his phone anymore when he does that. And so there's a trade-off. I mean, if there's some guys, I don't care who calls me, or I don't need to take any phone calls while I'm on the bike. Okay, well then you be the one to pair up with that 20S, because if you don't care about receiving or making phone calls while you're on a ride, then you can pair up with that person and you can give up your phone, functionality. But it's capable, but only one 30K can pair to one other Bluetooth headset. You can't have one 30K paired to like two Bluetooth headsets. It's 1-to-1.
Okay.
But
So
that's the same bridging.
That's the same bridging.
That's that same bridging. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So you're telling me.
And the other thing.
Okay, go ahead.
The other thing that some people get confused in, and I just learned this like probably in the last 6 months, so you probably know this all along, but When you're trying to do a universal pairing with a off-brand head, so if you've got a Cardo that's trying to pair to a Sena 30K, obviously you guys can't pair and mesh because they have two different mesh platforms.
Right.
But you can pair in Bluetooth and in a universal pairing mode. And I always thought that both headsets have to go into their universal pairing mode to connect to each other.
Right.
And that's not how it works.
Right.
And so maybe you can explain how that works, Chris.
Well, it's to my understanding that you need to put one of those devices in phone pairing mode. And that's why you said that you're going to give up your phone if you pair it, because you have to put that Bluetooth device, either one or the other, you have to pair it in phone pairing mode. So you can either put the 30K in phone pairing mode and put the second device in Bluetooth, or you can take the second device and put it in phone pairing mode and put your 30K in universal intercom pairing. Go ahead, caller. You're live with Caliente in the Caliente Garage. Go ahead.
Hey, Chris, it's Eric from North American Rider.
How you doing, Eric? North American Rider.
That's right.
We're talking about the Sena 50K, and we're talking about the Sena 30K, the redemption with their new update. You have anything you would like to share with us, Eric?
Where we're at with the test is we have tested the 50K with the 30 or the 50S with the 30Ks, and the 30K does not have the latest update. And I'll just be honest with you, the communication between the two of them sucks.
Okay, but you haven't done the update. Let me make sure I get this straight. You have the 50K, the new 50K, and I'm assuming you got it updated to the latest firmware version. You tried to pair it to a 30K that does not have the new. You tried to pair it to the 30K that does not have the new software update. That's correct, and it's not communicating well.
That is correct. Whoever has the 30K that has not done the update, what we have found is the old Apple track pop is back.
Okay. Stand by, Eric. Stand by 1 second. Is that your?
What's going on?
Okay, I heard a dog or something.
That's my attack Yorkie.
Oh, okay. He'll bite your ankles to death. So we're on with Eric. He's with Northwest Rider Magazine. He's saying they've been testing the Sena 50K, and they paired it to the 30K, the Sena 50S. I don't know why it's an S or a K. Sena 50K or Sena 50S. So sometimes you guys may hear me say 50K or 50S, but in my mind, it's the same thing. So, but to be politically correct, it's 50S, the 50 series. So, Eric, you paired the 50 series to a 30K. Now, which mode did you pair it in? Because you're saying you're starting to get the snap and crackle and pop. And now, are you getting that out of the 30 or the 50 or both?
What is happening is in the 50, I'm getting a terrible snap, crackle, and pop. Now in the 30s, they're getting very poor sound through it to the point that they can only understand 4 or 5 words, and that's about all they get out of the conversation.
Okay. Now,
so here's the thing. And from the research that I've done, the 30K, the 50S is Bluetooth or is Mesh 2.0. The 30K in its original firmware before the latest update is not. So the 30K firmware update brings that unit on par with the 50S. But I have not tested that. But both of them have to have the same software update in order for them to communicate with each other. And Sena is saying that if you do the 30K update to the latest firmware, it brings that on par with the 50S or 50R. And if you try to use it with the old firmware, it's not going to work.
Okay, that is what we have found at this point.
So,
yeah.
Let me ask you,
So-
I don't mean to cut you off, Eric. I apologize. I want to say this while I'm thinking about it. Now, how did you, we know that the 50 series is a dual unit. It's a Bluetooth device and it's a mesh communicator. That's correct?
That is correct.
Okay, now the 30 is supposed to be the same. It's a Bluetooth device, mesh communicator. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So when you pair the 30 to the 50, how did you pair it? Are you pairing them? Is it mesh to mesh or is it Bluetooth 30 to a 50 series and mesh? How did you guys pair it? I'm trying to kind of understand how it works.
When you first connect them and pair them, you have to pair them in Bluetooth connectivity.
Okay.
So, and then from there,
You
can go bring it over into the mesh.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up because the Cardo works the same way. I know what you're talking about. Remember when I was saying that the Cardo is a dual unit. It has mesh and it's a regular Bluetooth. And I've actually had the same problem that Eric is talking about right now. I've had that exact same problem when I paired a Sena to this Cardo. And if you guys remember me saying I will not pair a Sena to my Cardo, I don't know if you guys can ever remember me saying that, but that was the reason why. Well, with the Cardo, if you're going to pair a Sena, what you have to do, because it's a non-Cardo unit, you have to go to channel A or channel B in the Cardo. And you put the second device, or in this case, a 30K, you would put it either in phone pairing mode. Well, you would actually put it in phone pairing mode because with the Cardo, you're actually going to channel A or channel B. So once you connect them and they connect fine, it's not a problem. You could actually bridge over the 30 or the 20 to DMC. But here's the problem. And Cardo said this, and I caught it and I understood it. It works best in rider passenger scenario. So if you're going to hook a Cardo to a Sena, they need to be on the bike with you. They can't be on their own bike going down the road. You're probably going to get that snap, crackle, and pop. So let me ask you, Eric, because this will confirm what I'm saying. When you guys paired this, it was working fine long you were standing there together. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So it seemed like it was working normal. But once you got on the bike and started going up the road, is that when it started getting that snap, crackle, and pop?
Yes, and that's also when it became difficult to communicate where they could get more than 4 or 5 words out of the conversation. When we pull up to a stop sign or red light and they're side by side with me, it was fine. We didn't have any problem. So yes, you are correct. The distance between them.
Yeah, and let me say this: these units are made over. Hold your thought for 1 second, Mark. These units are made overseas, so it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know this now. This is just caliente. You know, I'm skeptical. It wouldn't surprise me the same companies make this stuff, but apparently the Cardo works just like the Sena 50 series. You put it in Bluetooth mode, the same as the Cardo, to pair a non-Cardo or a non-Sena device. Once you pair it, you bridge it over to DMC. Same as Cardo, same as the Sena. Sounds great when you're standing right next to each other. The problem comes into play is once you start riding. And now you start getting that snap, crackle, and pop. Now, from what Mark is telling us, is that with this new Sena update, that puts it on the same platform as the 50K. Is that correct, Mark?
That's correct. And there's a reason why there's Bluetooth and mesh. The mesh is the better communication. If you're going to be if you have 30Ks all together, there's no reason to be in a Bluetooth intercom conversation with other 30Ks. If you all have 30K, you should all be using the mesh.
Correct.
But in order, now the Bluetooth technology exists because you still have to Bluetooth it to your phone. You still have to Bluetooth it to your app on your phone. You still have to Bluetooth it to the free wire. I'm talking 30K now.
Right.
So Bluetooth is a necessity because those other devices don't recognize a mesh connectivity. They need to be Bluetooth connected. So, so if you are, if and I read this because there was an article that, and even I think it came from Sena that says if you do not do the firmware update on the 30K and you try to connect with the 50S, it's not going to work. And so, Eric, what I would suggest to you is that whatever 30K you guys were using to establish a mesh connection, that you make sure that all the 30Ks have their firmware updated to the latest version, because that's the same mesh platform that is now in the 50Ss. And then the other thing, Eric, you had mentioned that you have to turn on Bluetooth first and have a Bluetooth connection with another headset, then go into mesh. That wasn't my experience. When my brother and I tested it, we turned the headset on. We Bluetooth paired to our phones and our free wires through a Bluetooth pairing, but then we just turned the mesh on and boom, we were on. We didn't have to establish a Bluetooth communication between the headsets first and then turn on the mesh. You're either in one or the other. And so what could possibly be happening is that because you're trying to Bluetooth and mesh connect at the same time, your headsets are probably conflicting with each other, because that was not my experience. We didn't even have to, in fact, we were so stoked that the mesh was working correctly, we didn't even try to Bluetooth to each other because the mesh was working so well for us.
But Mark, you was going 30K to 30K though, is that correct?
Right.
So everybody, was everybody in your group all 30Ks?
Yeah.
Okay. But
on this last ride, everybody was in 30K on mesh and they never turned the Bluetooth on. They didn't want to complicate things with these guys.
Right. But in Eric's case, he's got a 50 and a 30. So he's got two different devices, even though they're both Sena products.
Right.
Yes. But he also said that the 30K did not have the latest firmware update.
Correct.
That is correct.
And if it didn't, then it's not going to work with the 50S. So that's totally predictable that it would not work.
Go ahead.
I'll bet you dollars of pesos if you do the firmware update on the 30K and then try to connect to the 50S in a mesh, it'll work.
And you mentioned having to pair to your phones and everything else. And please forgive me. Don't attack me. I ride an 18 Goldwing, so we pair to the Goldwing, and and of course you got to pair Bluetooth to the wing in order to have that connection. So.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question, Eric. Without the 30K being connected to the 50. Mm-hmm. How many of you guys are riding with the 50K, and how is it performing?
Right now, I've only got two others that are riding with it, and so far, we haven't ridden enough to give it a justifiable cause. It, like I said, I think last time we spoke, I had only had it on for a day, but everything was clear. And then these rides, they've been clear, the 50s to the 50s. So you have rode in a group with the other guys, 50 to 50. And yeah, but it was just a couple guys. It wasn't a large group.
Right.
So,
but it appeared to work as it intended to work.
Yes. The thing that we want to get established, and Mark, I need to go back and do that update on the 30s, Because let's face it, the guys that have got 30s aren't going to go out and spend another $400 for a set or $500 for a set of 50s right away, because 30s aren't that old.
Right.
So what we want to do is get the 30s working properly. And what I'm hearing you're saying is with the new updates is at least 30 to 30, it does take care of the problem.
That's correct.
Here's my question. This is my question, and neither one of you may not even know the answer to this. Once he update the 30K, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so how would he pair it to the 50 series? Would he still go Bluetooth? Because it's not.
What's the question?
How would he actually pair the 30 to the 50 once he get it updated? So let's say he's got
in the mesh.
Right. So he's going to go mesh to mesh.
That's it.
Okay.
If you turn the 30K on right now with the new firmware update, it'll say exactly what the 50S says when you turn the 50S on, which is mesh open channel 1 is by default. Is that correct, Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I turned the 30K on, that's exactly what I hear now. Before it used to be open mesh or something like that, or what was there? Private, guest, and public. Yeah, public mesh. And so now it's changed, and so basically now I have the same channel options on my 30K as you do on your 50S.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's what that update did. It picked a whole bunch of other problems. You know, the connectivity with the FreeWire fixed all that stuff too. But the Bluetooth on the 30K with the firmware update net is now 2.0 mesh, not the old version of the mesh. And so I almost feel confident that if you just do that firmware update on the 30K, you're not going to have any problems.
Right. And we had talked about that. This week's been a crazy week. It was last Sunday when we did an extensive ride, and we came back and said we needed to do the updates on the 30s, and I just haven't had time to do it this week.
Yeah.
So.
I was pleasantly surprised by what the firmware update did. It just totally changed my mind on how the device works now. It does everything that I needed to do. It works perfect, and so it was a very significant firmware update that they did on it, and you know, in my opinion, they redeemed themselves, and I don't have any room to talk bad about that unit itself. Overall, I'm still a Sena customer. I won't go to Cardo or any other unit because the other brands don't do what I want my unit to do, and Sena makes that product for me. So, but yeah, I feel very confident that if you do that firmware update, you're going to be okay and you'll be able to communicate fine.
Right.
But so the process for starting up the Sena 30K and the 50S is you power the unit on and you flip that antenna up, because that antenna is supposed to give you a bit more range in the mesh mode. And then as soon as you push the button, the mesh button, that's it. It does everything.
Yeah.
It opens up the channel. It puts you into channel 1 by default. And then if you want to take other people to another channel, then you just push the mesh button twice and you rotate the jog dial to the channel you want to go, and you tell them what channel to go to, and they do the same thing, and that's it. And then if you want to go back, you just double click it again and you go back to your channel 1. But yeah, it's the bomb.
Well, actually, it sounds like Mark is the one to be asking questions to tonight, just simply because it sounds like he's played a little bit more with the 30s than we've had the chance to. But we did use them, like I said, as they were, the 50K straight out of the 50S straight out of the box, and the 30K without the latest update. And given that configuration, it was not good.
But that's a perfect test of it, because now we have a baseline for how the 50S is not compatible with the 30K until you do the update. And so we're going to be waiting for some feedback from you once you do that update and tell us how it now works with the 30K, because that's what we need. You know, if people know that their 30Ks will work with the 50S, they're going to go out and buy the 50S, you know. And right now, I'll tell you, it's funny is through June 30th, Sena is offering $150 back on any 30K that you return to them as a rebate on the purchase of a new 50S. And then it went to the Sena 20S Evo. Then they opened it up for the Evo, and I think it's like $135 for the Evo. And then just a few days ago, the 20S first generation, they're now offering, I think it's like $100 or $125 if you return a 20S Evo towards the purchase of a 50S or a 50R.
So you're saying that now Sena is offering basically a rebate.
Yep.
If you purchase a 50K and turn in your 30 or your Sena Evo
20.
Yeah, the Sena 20. If you turn in the Sena 20 Evo or the regular Sena, you're saying that they're going to give you some type of monetary rebate toward the price of a new 50 series.
Yes. You there's a whole process that you go on to Sena's website, and it talks specifically about their rebate offer to Sena 20S, 20S Evo, and 30K owners that want to upgrade to 50S or 50R, and but it's only through June 30th, and after that, but I'm seeing so many better prices just through different manufacturer or different vendors that are a lot better than but in order to do that, you have to buy through SenaBuy.com. You can't buy at another vendor and ask for the rebate. You have to make that purchase through Sena, because they're the ones who process the rebate and send you out a check in the mail for the money that you get back for turning in your product.
You know, that's very good information. We're live in the Caliente Garage. We're talking about the new Sena 50 series, as well as the 30K, the new updates with the 30K, and how they are performing when you connect the two. And it's good that we're able to have this conversation, because a lot of people out there that has the 30, you know, probably have thought about switching to the 50, but after having all those issues and problems with the 30, I think a lot of people are on the fence. They're skeptical. You know, they're scared to make the new upgrade to the 50 because of how bad it performed with the 30. And the 30 was supposed to be better than the 20, and the 20 outperformed the 30. But we're joined by Moto Mark, who's out in California. He's bringing us up to speed. He's saying that this new update with Sena has corrected the problems with the 30K. We're also joined by Eric, who's the author or the owner of the Northwest Rider magazine, editor and owner of Northwest Rider magazine. He has the 50 series. He tried to pair it to a 30K and was getting snap, crackle, and pop, but Eric did not do the new update, which is what Mark is saying, that you need to do the new update to get the Sena 30K to perform properly. So if any of you guys are watching this video and would like to chime in on this live video cast before we end it here in a few moments, the phone line is open, 901-468-9032. If you have a testimony with your new Sena 30K or the 50 series. Eric, you got anything you want to add, Eric?
No, tonight's actually a learning experience for me, listening to what Mark and the others have to say. So that's some, it confirms what I was suspicious of after we did our ride last Sunday. That you know, the 30K needs the upgrade in order to eliminate the problem. And it also confirms which end is the problem on. It's not on the 50K or on the 50S, it's on the end of the 30K.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's good information.
And,
Go ahead, Mark.
and you know, one of the things that really, it just, I think a lot of people have a righteous concern is when the 50S and the 50R rolled out with the 30K having not been corrected. I think a lot of customers or potential customers felt that that had purchased a 30K and were experiencing the same problems as anybody else who owned one. I think those people felt that they were being abandoned by Sena because Sena rolls out this new product, and the one you know, the one that preceded it, you know, never got repaired. And so it's kind of ironic that Sena rolls out the 50S, and then, you know, maybe within a week they roll out the firmware update that brings that 30K on par with the 50S. And you know, there's a lot of advantages to buying a 50S, but you know, enhanced speakers, battery time is increased, not dramatically, but I mean, any bit helps. There's a lot of little add-ons that make the 50S very attractive. If you're buying one to, you know, at the very get-go, yeah. But you know, now for me, my 30K works. It does everything I need it to do, just like my 20S did. So there's no reason for me to go spend another $175 with the rebate, you know, to buy a 50S when my 30K is working fine. I'm going to sit back and watch how these 50Ss perform. We got guys like Eric that have a large he has a large outreach with people that read his magazine, and you know, this is a really good topic to talk about because communications is everything. It used to be nothing, and now it's everything for some people when it comes to motorcycle riding. And you know, everybody needs to get the bang for their buck, whether you buy a Cardo, a Uclear, a Sena, whatever, you know, whatever suits your needs. You know, everybody needs to know how these things operate. And unfortunately, you know, with Sena, I've had to learn on my own how these things work, because you try to call Sena technical support, they don't know squat about those things. I know more about how those things work now than they do. And they'll give you canned answers for everything, and they never work. And in the end, it's send us a help ticket and we'll get you a new device. But, you know, it's just a learning experience, time consuming. I've grown a lot of gray hair over it, especially in the last 18 months, because, you know, everybody was counting on me to get these communications on par for the club, and we kept on falling short. But now we seem to be on track. So that's a good thing. And I think, you know, I feel compelled to, you know, to backtrack if need be, and just, you know, Sena Redeem their product and, you know, acknowledge that they did. So,
you know, Mark,
I thank you for this, for giving me the time to.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with backtracking. There's nothing wrong with, you know, and you were speaking on what was going on at that time. Since then, Sena has, you know, put up a new update for the 30K. And as you have stated during this video cast, that it has corrected the problem with the Sena 30K, and it's working as it should. So, you know, this is good information even for me. You know, I know you said that you are sticking with Sena. I'm sticking with Cardo.
Well, let me ask Mark a question here. Many of you may remember when the 20S, I think it was the 20S or the 20S Evo came out, when you tried to film using a GoPro with the Sena's backpack on it, there was snack, crackle, and pop. Have you, anybody in the group, experienced that with the 30K? Have they tried using a GoPro with a Sena backpack?
Well, you know, let me take this question right quick, Mark, and I'll give it back.
Yeah.
I was telling Mark earlier the problem I had when I tried to use the 30K with the backpack is that the audio wouldn't record. I'll get the blue indicator light that your audio is being recorded, but when I get home and upload the video, I have no audio. So it was actually giving the indication that it was recording, but it really wasn't recording. So my experience has been that the 30K didn't even work with the backpack. And I had several backpacks, and it just did. I thought maybe I had a bad backpack, and I move it to backpack number 2, same thing. Backpack number 3, same thing. So I just stopped using the 30 altogether and just went back to the 20 because the 30 was giving me false indications that it was recording, and it wasn't. So that's been my experience. Now with this new update, with the 30 actually record with the backpack, I don't know. You know, that's the problem that I've had. I don't know if other guys experience that same problem of it not recording on the backpack with the 30K, but for me, it just wouldn't, it was inconsistent. Sometimes it did and sometimes it didn't. It was inconsistent. It always gave you the indication that it was recording when your red LED light went to blue, but when I got home, it was no audio. So I just stopped taking that chance and stuck with the 20 until I started cheating with the Cardo. Once I went to the Cardo, man, it was
I saw that coming, Chris. I saw that coming.
Yeah, it's a life-changing experience. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy a Sena 50K, or I'm not saying that you shouldn't stick with Sena 30K. But what I'm planning on doing is I'm gonna stay with Cardo. That's just my personal choice. I know Mark is a Sena guy. He loves his Sena, and he said he ain't never going back to anything else.
Hey, but you know, Chris, I got a question. When you were trying to record with your audio pack for your GoPro camera on your Hero 4, that works through Bluetooth.
Yes.
So my question is while you were trying to use it on your 30K, were you Bluetooth to your audio pack while you were trying to carry on a mesh conversation with a group of writers?
I never could get the mesh to work on 30K. I never could get it to work. I mean, even with all, you know, it's times it was just, we all either had 30s or all 20s. This was before
right.
I couldn't even get the mesh to even work. It just wouldn't work. So, no, it was just, and when I was doing these recordings, I'm talking about single vlogs. I'm not talking about group riding. I mean, just try to connect my 30 to the pack and record. When I get home, no audio. When I did a group ride, no audio. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't, but it was not in mesh. I never even got the mesh to even work. I never even heard the 30K work in mesh. For me, that's been my experience.
So
that's all changed now. It was a disaster for me using that 30K. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't talk about it a lot, but it was an absolutely disaster. I was pulling my hair out with that thing. But with the 20S, it was just so much, you know, I turn it on and it automatically connected to the audio. Yes, it was simple with the 30. I mean, with the 20, but with the 30, I had very bad results. So I'm hoping from what you're telling us that this new update is going to fix the problems that it had with the 30, but we need more people to test it out. So if you guys are watching this video and you have the 30K, go ahead and do that update. And see what happens. If you know anybody with a 50, try to pair it to the 50 and see what happens, and get back with us. Let us know what's going on. You can email me at chriscaliente@yahoo.com, or you can give me a call direct at 901-468-9032, or you can email me. Either way, email, calls, carrier pigeon, smoke signals, whatever you got to do to get the message to me. Instant messenger, ride a boat, ride a goat, whatever it takes. You know, I'm curious. But from what Mark is telling us, that this new update is taking care of the problem with that 30K. So,
hey, Chris, when we get done here, feel free to give Eric my contact information. I'd really like to hear from him directly, because he's exactly who I'm looking for, you know, when it comes to testing these things to see, because it sounds like he has 50S's and 30Ks in amongst the people that he rides with. And you know, I'm very apprehensive about buying the 50S, probably not going to until my 30K dies on me. But but he's exactly what I'm looking for, just to expand the knowledge on the two products and to be able to tell people how they work, you know.
Right.
And yeah, feel free once we finish here, just to go ahead and give him my phone number, put him in contact with me. I would really appreciate that.
Okay, that's no problem at all.
And you're welcome to share my information too, Chris.
Okay, I'll be sure to give it to Mark. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this live video cast. We've been on for over an hour. We've been talking about the Sena 30K. We've been talking about the Sena 50 series. We even been talking about the Cardo Pack Talk Bowl.
Well,
So,
I don't know how much I'll get out to do much testing this week. We're finishing up. We've been building out a studio so we can actually do live broadcasts for the magazine. And we've been installing lights and paneling and green screens and everything else. So we'll be finishing that up this week. So,
okay.
So I'm not certain, Mark, how much I'll get out this week. If the weather holds good, I'm going to try to get out tomorrow and ride a little bit. So
Very good.
the upgrade on the 30 tonight, and we'll see what we find.
Very good.
Well, I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. Mark, Moto Man out there in California. Eric Weinberg. Is it Weinberg or Weiberg?
Weiberg.
Weiberg. Okay. Eric Weiberg, Northwest Rider Magazine.
North American Rider Magazine.
North American Rider Magazine.
Yes.
North American Rider Magazine. So I appreciate you guys giving us this information. I'll be sure to, Mark, I'll be sure to give you Eric's info and vice versa. If you guys have any questions or any comments and you would like to put them down in the comment section below to maybe help with some of the other viewers' questions, feel free to do so. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you haven't already, be sure to sign up for the Chris Caliente Goldwing Group, the hottest Facebook group in the land. Well, this is your boy Chris out here in the Caliente Garage talking with Moto Mark out of Cali and Eric out of Alabama. And I will talk to you guys later. See you.
Take care, Chris.
All right, Mark.